In today's video, we're going to be taking a look, as always, at these current conditions and also diving into the upcoming pattern where we now have the European model on board with a major East Coast snowstorm. Certainly something to be interested in and potentially excited about. It is a little bit early in the game, and we do need to take it with a grain of salt, but there is signs there that East Coast snowstorms are going to be possible here in the medium to long range, and also colder air on the way than especially what we've been dealing with, but definitely unseasonably cold air in general. Now, we do see out west there is some spotty storminess, very isolated and scattered about. There's snowfall for certain inland areas, rainfall for certain coastal and low elevation areas. Very interesting stuff out west. And then we have our primary low here over Nebraska and Iowa. And this is creating a lot of snowfall throughout Minnesota, Iowa, and South Dakota and northern Nebraska there. And we can see underneath where we have a kind of typical warm front, cold front type deal. We can see that there is plenty of severe weather taking place as we've anticipated for a while now. A lot of severe weather, tornadoes, even confirmed tornadoes coming out of this system for states like Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and maybe as far northward up as Kentucky and even Ohio. I saw a tornado warning, so certainly very far northern areas for this time of year. We see more showery activity as we work our way towards the northeast and most of the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes, but again, there was a tornado warning there in very far southern Ohio. Let's zoom into the west real quickly, just take a look at some of this, and we can see snowfall for a little bit of the Cascades and some of these hilly regions in inland Oregon. Then we see for our Rocky Mountain range here, some of the higher elevation areas seeing some snowfall, and then some rainfall along your California coastline and southern areas of New Mexico and Arizona, but that is quite isolated at this point. As we work our way towards the snowfall, we can see that it is extremely heavy here for South Dakota and Minnesota, especially near Minneapolis. The whites, I've always told you guys, is extremely heavy snowfall, but those blues are whiteout conditions, even blizzard conditions taking place. So certainly extremely heavy snowfall happening near Sioux Falls and Minneapolis there, and Mankato there, Brookings there, Tracy, Stewart, basically all of these blue regions in here dealing with whiteout conditions, and then probably over here near and north of Sioux Falls, but earlier right over Sioux Falls. If you're in this area, let us know in the comments how heavy that snowfall really is, because it seems extremely heavy to me at this point. Let's work our way further southward towards this severe weather, and we can see there's a very warm, humid layer here out ahead of the cold front that is leading towards some of these storms happening out ahead of this cold front, but the swinging cold front meeting up with this cold air, or the warm air better yet, is kind of what's creating the biggest problems here, and this line of thunderstorms is proof of that. As we work our way through it, we can see some tornado warnings were coming through for areas in western Mississippi there, eastern Arkansas, near Greenville. I don't know if that's on the Arkansas or Mississippi side. I think the Mississippi side, yeah. Greenville, Mississippi. We had a tornado warning over there, and then south of Memphis there in Mississippi as well, we had a confirmed tornado, and then some tornado warnings coming in north of Tupelo there. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. South of Corinth in Mississippi. So Mississippi getting a lot of those bad thunderstorms with tornadic activity. Also throughout central Tennessee, we've had these bad thunderstorms. Up through eastern Kentucky, we've had some of this activity, and then again, even up through into Ohio, where we had a severe thunderstorm warning and even a tornado warning near Portsmouth, Ohio there, north of Portsmouth, Ohio. Certainly an extreme setup for this time of year. And then as we work our way towards just the north here, we have pretty much just showery activity, even mixed showers up here for Maine and near Ohio and Michigan as well. Now, what we're going to go ahead and do is move on, and we're going to take a look at the upcoming weather and dive into some of these big changes that are on the way. Now, as we dive into the upcoming weather, I actually want to focus in on tomorrow, because with this storm that we saw is primarily working its way from the upper Midwest down through the Ohio Valley, and now it's kind of breaking up as a more minor system, but we still have this cold front, we still have the warm sector along the southeast coast here, and we have this warm front up north. I still think this setup here, and this whole setup, I mean, we're really going to need to watch for potential severe weather still along the southeast for tomorrow. Also, by tomorrow, we will have our next western storm moving in off the Pacific Ocean, so certainly going to be the sign of stormy times to come. We see snowfall along the western mountainous regions and even through the Rockies as well. As we approach toward Friday, this is when we get our first little sign at cold here, Friday the 6th in the east, where we have a little bit of a flatter jet stream perhaps descending towards the eastern United States. This will allow for a little bit of some colder air to work its way in general. Some snow showers across the northeast, as you can see as well. And by Saturday, we see a bit of a minor clipper system rolling through, bringing snowfall throughout the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes as well. Some of the northeast there by Saturday. And into Sunday, this slips to the south. There's not enough cold air to support widespread snowfall at this stage in the game, though, mostly mixed showers. It appears like on Sunday there into Monday. And then it kind of innocently moves offshore again, not really ever becoming a major system. Now, by January 11th here, this is what we're dealing with. We have very cold air here in the east, and we have this little bit of a system that wants to curve along it. And we've been talking about this system for a little while, but what we will see here on the European model is it completely rides up the coast and becomes kind of worst case scenario. We have a 981 millibar low pressure center with limited cold, so we're seeing rainfall here for the mid-Atlantic and southeast coast. But as time moves on, we can see for the northeast and northern mid-Atlantic coast, we see extremely heavy snowfall from this bombing out low. It's now a 974 millibar low pressure center by Thursday afternoon. That's January 12th. Certainly a very heavy snowfall event, perhaps at 972 by the time we're reaching about 8 p.m. there on Thursday. And very heavy widespread snowfall throughout the Northeast and New England here on our European model, which is typically much more reliable. Now, this is all very interesting, and we don't get to the end of this, so on the total snowfall, that'll only be about half the storm total or so. But we're going to work our way through the GFS as well here. So as we can see, by the time we're reaching, we'll get to about the, well, let's wait till things get interesting here, about the 9th, Monday. We get a little bit more of a southern slider type scenario here with a little bit more cold available with this storm. And as you can see, that translates towards snowfall for the Smoky Mountains, a lot of the southern Appalachian Mountains, and up and through portions of the Mid-Atlantic, including D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York City, as a more minor snowstorm, but still it's something, and certainly something to watch moving forward. But again, the European model does not have that storm. But just how the European model has this storm here, the GFS model does not, as it tracks it well just straight eastward, whereas the European model curves it straight up the coast just like this. So a big time difference here, as you can see in the trajectory according to the European model versus the GFS model here. Hundreds and hundreds of miles difference by the time we're reaching this point, and that just completely slides off the coast. And on this model, the cold gets there later, which is why that storm doesn't hug the coast, because the trough isn't in place. You see, if the jet stream is doing this, what's pulling the storm up the coast? That's the question, right? But if we see that the storm, and this is reverting back to the European model, but if we see that the jet stream is doing this, it's pretty clear that this is what's pulling the storm up because it can latch onto that jet stream. So the missing piece here between the European and the GFS model is kind of that cold air being in place or not being in place. Now, as we continue things on, we do get a couple of snowfall opportunities and more cold air moving in, but nothing major here according to the GFS model on this particular model run, especially not when compared to the European model. Now, speaking of that European model, let's go over the total precipitation and total snowfall. For that total precipitation here, anywhere in the whites, we're expecting practically no precipitation. Your grays are 1/10 of an inch or less. Your greens are 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. Your blues are 1/2 an inch to an inch. Your yellows are 1 inch to 2 inches. Reds are 2 to 5 inches there. And then your browns are 5 to 10 inches of precipitation. And then blues even being 10 to 15. And magentas being 15 inches plus. And we do see some of that here for California. Very heavy precipitation as we get plenty of storminess here. Very interesting stuff there. Now, total snowfall, we see anywhere in the grays a dusting, if anything. Blues, 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. Purple, 6 to 10. Pinks, 10 to 20 there. Pastel blues, 20 to 35. And then your pastel pinks, 35 inches plus. Very, very interesting stuff there. Now, let's zoom into the northeast here so we can see this half of a major snowstorm here. And it's interesting to say half because there's still a lot here expected. Let's see how well this wants to work. Now, here is that total snowfall through, again, half of that storm. And we can see already approaching 2 feet for portions of Long Island, New York, even near New York City, near Connecticut, especially western Connecticut there, it appears, and then through central regions of Massachusetts and southern New Hampshire there. There is a corridor there of about potentially 2 feet. Now I'll draw that in kind of, but it seems to be this area that is the bullseye here according to the European model. And anywhere that I'm circling here is going to be about 10 inches plus. So certainly a pretty widespread swath of these near 1 foot amounts there. So that corridor. But again, this is only half the storm. So we still have a lot of it to go. The low is about here by this point. A very intense low pressure system is right offshore and certainly going to lead towards more snowfall than this in this particular scenario, but we could wake up tomorrow and it's gone from the models. So it's something to take as a grain of salt, obviously being 10 days out because it is at hours 240. It is pretty far out at this point, but seeing these consistent snow signals is definitely encouraging moving forward into the upcoming pattern regardless of anything else. Now, the temperature pattern here, we can see a lot of warmth here right now, obviously, but as we approach later this week, Friday into Saturday, there will be more seasonably cold temperatures moving in for a lot of these areas, even unseasonably cold for some of the southeast. Now, as we work our way towards Sunday, Monday timeframe, even into Tuesday, again, it's more neutral, if anything. Then we see some warmth move in for a period, but we definitely see this cold start to win out for the east here, according to this European ensemble model. By the time we're reaching about the that's a 12th to 15th time frame. And then we get a little bit more warmth moving in from the north, which is a little bit unusual, but a little bit more warmth here. By the time we're approaching the 20th and some cold reverting back to the west, indicating a negative PNA. This is very long range, so we will take it with a grain of salt, but certainly an uncertain pattern moving forward. Not very definitive in either direction, and it's making it a very confusing pattern through January. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. We do upload every single day, and we will update you guys on all of these things daily. So be sure to subscribe. You can even hit the bell icon and hit all videos for daily notifications so you never miss a beat. Also, like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.